Good morning, students. Today we are moving to next chapter, that is habitat ecology. The first term that we need to understand is biosphere. What is biosphere? Biosphere. Who introduced that term? It is by an Australian geologist, Edward Seuss, in 1875. Who is that? An Australian geologist, Edward Seuss. 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 And further, another scientist further developed the idea of biosphere, that is Vladimir Ivanovich Vernadsky in 1926. Who is that? Vladimir Ivanovich Vernadsky. Those who have textbook, let's see the spelling. Then, according to Hutchinson's, there is a definition for biosphere. What is that? Biosphere is nothing. It is part of Earth where life exists. Where all the life exists, in its part, that all part we can call as a biosphere. So, according to Hutchinson's, what is biosphere? It is that part of Earth where life exists. Then we are going to see the classification of biosphere. Biosphere can be classified mainly into three areas. Three divisions are there. They are lithosphere, hydrosphere, and finally atmosphere. Then which are the which what all things we are availing from all these divisions? From lithosphere we are getting solid components like soil, rocks, all those things are availing from lithosphere. From hydrosphere we are getting availing oceans, lakes, rivers. From atmosphere we are getting the gas, different types of gas. Okay, then we are going to learn more about lithosphere. Lithosphere, what's the term itself? It means stony sphere. Stony, it's a hard sphere, that is lithosphere. And it's composed of uh, crust, mantle, and core. Which are the parts? Crust, mantle, and core. Crust is the outermost region that reach up to 40 kilometers, and below that till 2900 kilometer is mantle. Mantle, it is filled with molten materials, and below that 2900 kilometer, what is it is filled with fluid and vapor, that of core. That's the that about the details when we take a vertical section of earth. Then, which are the important role that is played by the lithosphere? What is the importance of lithosphere? Because it give all the mineral metabolites for the life forms of earth. It gives what? Minerals. All minerals are contributed by lithosphere. It forms the soil. So, pedosphere. What is pedosphere? The soil component of lithosphere is called pedosphere. Then major forms of lithosphere are, which are where all may we can see lithosphere on land. That land area is part of lithosphere. And when come to aquatic system, the its floor. If we are speaking about the case of ocean's floor is part of lithosphere. And substrata means it's a solid surface on which organism rest or move. All those solid surfaces are called substrata, and that also providing by lithosphere, right? Then, and without the substrate, no organisms can exist. So substrate is that much important for the existence of organism, and that important constituent is contributed by lithosphere. Then pedology we already learned. What is pedology? It is a study of soil. Then global mineral cycle, that we need to understand. Global mineral cycle. What is this global mineral cycle or lithospheric cycle? It is a gigantic cycle that tells that uh, the earth's surface is moving in a slow pace. Say global mineral cycle. Earth's surface is moving very slowly, and the global mineral cycle has two parts. They are diastrophism and gradation. As this diastrophism, spelling diastrophism, and gradation are two type of movement that happens as a result of this Earth's movement. Then we need to understand what is diastrophism and what is gradation. Diastrophism means the vertical uprising of a large area of land crust. Understand? It's a vertical uprising, upliftment of a large area. Vertical upliftment of a large area. That is diastrophism. Then what is gradation? Gradation means it is the lowering of highland, leveling of mountains. In very primitive times, a particular area is a mountain region, and as years pass, that region become leveled off. That process is called gradation. So global mineral cycle consists of two types of changes, two types of movement. They're called diastrophism and gradation. The global mineral cycle is very slow. It's a very slow movement of a surface. Say gigantic cycle. Next is what are the factors that contributing the lithosphere cycle? Which factors are helping the lithosphere cycle? They are the chemical action of water. Chemical action of water means huge stones will be there, and gradual prolonged action of water on these rocks, that rocks become converted to large stones. Later they become small pebbles, and they even later become powdered to form small sand grains and minerals, and these minerals are later taken up by organisms as their mineral nutrients, and when they die from their body, again that minerals is coming back and continue or complete that global mineral cycle or lithosphere cycles. So that is the role. Two factors, erosional factors like chemical action of water and the decaying of terrestrial organisms helps to finish or support the lithosphere cycle. Okay. Then, which are the minerals provided by the lithosphere cycle? What all minerals we get as a result of lithosphere cycle? They are nitrates, phosphates, chlorates, carbonates, etc. Which are the organic matter we availed out of the lithosphere cycle? The organic matter is actually contributed by the living organisms. Okay, and by the different activities of living organism generate organic matter in the lithosphere. So that's all about lithosphere. Important things points are global mineral cycle. Next, we are going to learn about hydrosphere. Hydrosphere, what is its importance? We know that water is the most abundant matter in Earth's surface. 73% of Earth's surface is covered with water, and it's a major constituent of protoplasm of all organisms cell, and it's a main source of what um, hydrogen, and also one source for oxygen, because water itself composed of H2O, 2H and 1O. Then water cycle. What is water cycle? This is a water cycle. How the water in the biosphere is cycling. The key process that playing major role in that water cycle are evaporation. Evaporation we know from the oceans, lakes, streams, water is heated up and evaporating and reach the atmosphere. And later they precipitate. Precipitate means it cools and comes down again as rain, that is precipitation. So important process, one is evaporation, then next is precipitation. Then one another important process that's helping water cycle is transpiration. Transpiration we know, transpiration is evaporation of water from plants leaves. It also is supplementing, giving water from the biome to the atmosphere. So and how this precipitate as well as evaporated water later comes down as rain, and in that way water cycle is forming. And also surface runoff, groundwater, water table, all those things also there as part of the part of the water cycle. That means as it rain happens, that rainwater reaches the soil surface. Some amount runs off and later joins with the finally empties into the ocean. Certain amount percolates into the soil and form the water table. Okay, that's about water cycle. Next, water table also there. Water table we know. Water table means that percolated water from the rain that is stored in the form of groundwater. That source is called water table. Okay, and that water table is responsible for giving water in our wells and also for the growth of plants. Then atmosphere. Atmosphere. What is atmosphere? It is a gaseous envelope around the earth. What is atmosphere? Gaseous envelope around the earth. How it is formed? It's a product of long evolutionary process. It is a product. It doesn't happen just in one day. It is a process of long evolutionary. It's a result of long evolutionary process. So, in the first phase of the formation of atmosphere, in the first its beginning, the condition is anaerobic, and and later only photosynthetic prokaryotes origin and turn the atmosphere into aerobic. In that way the primitive atmosphere later changed to aerobic. What about the composition? That also we already learned in another chapter, former chapter. Amount of nitrogen is 78.08 percentage. Regarding oxygen, it is 20.94 percentage. Argon, it is 0.93 percentage. Carbon dioxide, it is 0.03 percentage. Okay, and from the surface of the earth till 15 kilometers up, the atmosphere composition is almost uniform. Okay, then what is aerosols? That term also we have already learned in the previous chapter. Then you need to tell me what is aerosol. What is aerosol? Aerosols are those suspended solid particles that present in air as a result of fossil fuel combustion and volcanic eruptions, forest fire, so many things. Then stratification of atmosphere. How we can divide the atmosphere into many layers. Which are the layers? Troposphere is there, stratosphere is there, mesosphere is there, and thermosphere. So we are going to see the stratification of atmosphere. This is a stratification. Troposphere is the lowermost, and at what distance it extends? 10 to 15 kilometer from the surface of the earth. What extends? Troposphere. Okay, what is this peculiarity? As with the increase in height in troposphere, temperature decreases. Important. As height increases, with the increase in height, temperature of the troposphere drops by 6.5 degrees Celsius per kilometer. Per kilometer. Per kilometer, how much is decreasing? 6.5 degrees Celsius. Then coming next layer, that is stratosphere. Before that, one important thing, there is another small layer partitioning the troposphere from stratosphere. That layer we are naming it as tropopause. How came that name? A pose is adding along with the name of the just completed layer, tropopause. One more point is there regarding troposphere. Troposphere is characterized by strong winds and clouds. Clouds means everything are found in this troposphere. So after this, tropopause is there. There the temperature is minus 60 degrees Celsius, and from the surface of the earth till 50 kilometer. Till 50 kilometer means beyond 15 and reaching up to 50 kilometer is stratosphere, and in that layer present the ozone. Okay, ozone layer is present in the stratosphere. That's a very important thing. And after the stratosphere came the mesosphere. Mesosphere, what its range from the surface of the earth after the stratosphere till 80 kilometer, mesosphere is extending. And what is its feature? As height increases, again the temperature is decreasing. And after mesosphere, next layer is thermosphere. And here also a small layer that separates the mesosphere from thermosphere. That is pose we are adding along with the just finished layer. That is the mesosphere. Mesopause. And what's the peculiarity of thermosphere? Thermosphere, as height increases in thermosphere, temperature increases. So that's why it is called thermosphere. Temperature increases with height. These are the different layers. Okay. Next portions we are going to see different biospheres habitats, terrestrial and aquatic. And in that terrestrial habitat, you everybody have to write and submit as an assignment, terrestrial habitat. So I am not going to take that portion. And so next I am moving to aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem. Okay, let me take that page. Okay, aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem types. Which are the two types? Freshwater is there and also marine water is there. Which are the two types? Freshwater is there and marine water system is there, aquatic system. And freshwater includes streams, rivers, ponds. Marine includes ocean. And ocean's coverage regarding the total earth surface. What about? What's the extent? How much area? Total earth surface. How much it is? 510 into 10 raised to 6 square kilometer is a total Earth surface, that is total area of Earth. And of that area, 361 into 10 raised to 6 square kilometer is covered by ocean. Just for a generalization, for having an um, overview. Okay. Then we are moving to freshwater environments. Freshwater is of two types that also we already learned. Which are the types? Lotic and lentic. Lotic means flowing water and lentic is standing. Lentic, standing. Lentic waters. Okay. Lotic examples, streams, rivers. Lentic ponds, lakes are lentic. Limnology means the study of fresh water. Then lotic ecosystem. Lotic ecosystem examples are, I already told you, there are streams, rivers, etc. What are the features of the lotic ecosystem? Lotic ecosystem, most of them starts as a waterfall and then flows downwards. So, as it originates almost from some waterfalls and then flows gently, steadily till reaching joining with the ocean or anything. During that course, it has a vertical drop. Vertical drop means how different parameters of the water varies as we go vertically down. That's a vertical drop. And how that physical or biological features is varying. That variation determines the property features of that stream. What about the oxygen? What about the nutrients? If we go vertically down, that determines the features of that stream. And also, the streams are with more pools, frequent pools, rapids, all things are present in streams and rivers. And also one more thing, in its origin portion, the substrates, its substrate is almost rocky, and as the stream moves downwards, flows downwards, then the bottom become more filled with the sediment. That is because of the gradual flowing out or carrying out of sediments. As it moves more down, the sediments amount in the floor of the stream or rivers get rise. Okay, that's some important features. We all know that. Then flora. What about the flora? Floras are usually filamentous algae are the major flora. Diatoms also present. They are unicellular algae. Then what about the fauna? Fauna are of fungi, detritus feeders, and also some sessile invertebrates. Larvae of insects are also common. And some fishes also found. They are swift water. Swift water means those that are capable to adjust with the swiftly flowing, means fast flowing. Such fishes can only thrive there. Thrive means live there. They need to cope up with that flow of that stream. Then chemical nature. What is the chemical nature? In the upper reaches of the streams and river, the oxygen content will be more because in the upper reaches there is very less sediment. So oxygen content will be more. As it goes more down, the sediment content will be more, and for decomposing those sediments, microorganisms take up most of the oxygen. So that's why the oxygen level in downward portion, so downstream, okay, that's the word, downstream is very less. Then we are going to see which are the lotic adaptations, organisms that found in lotic system, what adaptations they have. Well, first one is very important. And as a whole, for your examination, university examination, essay question are coming from this area. I write an essay on aquatic ecosystem and the adaptations of the organisms, aquatic adaptations, like that essay question are coming. So it's very important. So lotic adaptations, which are the adaptations? Hold fast. Hold fast. What is hold fast? They are root-like structures at the base of algae. They are certain root-like structures. And also, um, some periphytons are also abundant in lotic system. Periphytons, you know what is periphytons? Organisms seen attached with the submerged plants or anything. Then hooks and suckers also present in lotic organisms because water current, water flow is high. So for withstanding that, they need to attach with something. For that attachment, they need some hooks and suckers. Examples of organisms having these hooks and suckers are larvae of Similium, then caddisfly, hydrope, psyche. All these names are there in your textbook. You can go and check its spelling. Then sticky under surface. Sticky under surface means the under surface of its body is sticky. So it can attach without getting washed away by the water current. Then flattened and streamlined body. What flattened? Its body is flattened and also streamlined. Streamlined means both ends are pointed. Both ends are pointed. Such type of body is called streamlined body. Another property shown by they are thigmotaxis. Thigmotaxis means property showed by those lotic organism to adhere, to attach close to the bottom. That is thigmotaxis. Then another property is rheotaxis. Rheotaxis means ability to move against water current. And they show osmotic balance. Osmotic balance means consider his fish and his body is hypertonic with respect to its surrounding medium. It is hypotonic. And that means water is more here and water is less here. So more water enters into the body of this fish, and that excess water this fish need to eliminate by how? By eliminating dilute urine. It's a part of osmoregulation. So those organisms show important property, that is osmoregulation. Then excretion, how is the excretion? Excretion, they excrete nitrogenous waste in the form of ammonia. So they are ammonotelic. Okay. Then we are moving to lentic. Lotic is over. Lentic means it includes pools, ponds, swamps, bogs, all these come under lentic ecosystem. And how these lakes are forming. So many processes are there. And when compared with lotic, lentic have some recent origin when compared with the lotic. Around 10,000 or 12,000 years ago, because of many different processes like glacial retreats. Glacial retreats means when glacial pieces, as it moves, it creates some trenches. Trenches means chali പോലെ ഉണ്ടാവും. That area can develop into lake. Volcanic activity also generates such type of trenches. That also can later develop into lake. Such a type of lake is Crater Lake in Orrington. Then one more process, that is by the upliftment of land. If a particular, you think that a particular land area is gradually uplifting, then as that land area uplifted, its other end become a valley like. So that area can also later develop into lake. different process. Then we are going to see the characteristics of lake ecosystem. Peculiarity, which what are the peculiarity mean? Peculiarities are regarding relating with the temperature, light and oxygen. All these parameters show a vertical gradation. Okay. Oxygen, we can see it varies with respect to oxygen, amount of oxygen. We know that in surface area oxygen will be more. As it goes deeper, the amount of oxygen decline. And why the amount of oxygen is more in surface? Because more photosynthetic organism algae are abundant on the surface. That's why surface water have more oxygen. Okay, and also it is in close contact with the atmosphere. That are the reason. Then life in lake zones. How? What about the life in lake zones? Two critical factors of the lake is governing, regulating the life forms. They are light and temperature. Light and temperature regulates what life forms need to exist there. We are going to see life in littoral zone. Littoral, limnatic and profoundal. All those zones we already learned. Life in littoral zone. What about its peculiarity? Littoral zone means for brushing up your memory, I am showing this picture again. Littoral is a margin portion. Just is a entry portion into that aquatic system filled with plants, photosynthetic plants, small fishes. Okay. So the producers there, producers are free floating and rooted plants. The rooted plants are of three types. They are zone of emergent plants. Zone of emergent plants means it is rooted in the bottom, and its remaining portion emerge out and can be seen outside the lake. Such type of rooted plants are there. And another one means plants with the floating leaves, means its other body parts are not visible, only its leaves are seen on the surface. Zone of plants with the floating leaves. Then another category is that zone of submerged plants. That plants totally is not visible over the surface. It is totally submerged under the surface. And there are the three types of rooted plants seen in the littoral zone. Then also some photosynthetic bacteria, protists, algae are also seen in this area. The consumers, who constitutes the consumers of this area? Consumers are protists, snails, mussels, aquatic insects, etc. constitutes the consumers. And also some bigger forms like frogs, fishes, salamanders also are seen in this area. Next, life in limnatic. Littoral zone is over. Limnatic zone. Limnatic means the open water region. They are the producers. Who are the producers? They are the phytoplanktons are the producers there. And the algae forms certain blooms. Phytoplankton forms blooms means their number, its population increases, shoots up. And that blooms enough food for the zooplanktons. That blooms give enough food for zooplanktons. Okay. And zooplanktons are so the primary consumers here. And higher consumers are also present. They are fishes most commonly. And the food web of limnatic zone is very simple and direct. There is no many interconnection. It is going one trophic level to next trophic level directly. It's a simple food web. Then life in profoundal zone. How the life in profoundal means there's no light. That we need to remember. Profoundal zone. Profoundal zone also I am going to show. This is a profoundal zone. There is no light. Producers are so absent because there is no light. And life consists of mainly of reducers like bacteria and fungi. Then organisms are should be adapted to live in low oxygen content. Then which are the process evenly distributing the bottom nutrients? Bottom nutrients are evenly distributed by the movement of water, vertical movement of water. Then we are going to see the different types of lakes. Lakes are of three types mainly. They are tectonic, volcanic and glacial. The name itself indicate how they are forming. Tectonic means it is formed by the movement of earth crust. Himalayan mountain range is said to be formed because of the tectonic movement. And as a result, if a land area get uplifted, its other area becomes sinks down and can later form two lakes. Such type of lakes called tectonic by the movement of earth crust. Volcanic action also create lakes. Glacial activity, glacial movement, glacial retreats also create some trenches and that may later develop into lake. So that's why three types of lake: tectonic, volcanic and glacial lakes. Then on the base of amount of plants and animals in the lake, again lake can categorize into three different types. They are oligotrophic, eutrophic and dystrophic. Oligotrophic means little amount of producers. Eutrophic means more producers. Dystrophic means but producing lake. I can go and see each one. Oligotrophic lake. Oligotrophic lake, I will show the picture. This type of lake is a cross section. What's the nature? It is deep. And you see, in the picture is very clear. It's very deep. And look here, the nutrients is very less. There's very less sediments in these lakes and low nutrient supply. So we can, to certain extent, we can say there is no organic matter and there is very less productivity. So because of that factor, it has more amount of oxygen because sediment is very less. More oxygen and water is very transparent. Example for oligotrophic lakes, they are Tahoe Lake, T-A-H-O-E, Tahoe Lake in Sierra, Baikal Lake in Siberia are common example. Next is eutrophic lake. Eutrophic lake can go and see when compared with the other one that we just see is here we can see that it is very shallow. And is rich with the nutrients. Algae are more, so more productivity here. Then there will be oxygen content will be very less. Then BOD will be more. What is BOD? BOD means biological oxygen demand. It is a demand. Demand for what? Demand for oxygen. For oxygen, for what purpose it is demanding oxygen? For decomposing the nutrients over nutrients or sediment. So here the demand for oxygen is more because here is more sediments, nutrients are more. So BOD is more and as the BOD is more, demand is more, there is only very less amount of oxygen. That is the nature of eutrophic lake. Then dystrophic lake. Dystrophic lake, I will show you the image, is just like that, a bog like chaduppu pole. Bog like and it is thick, covered with huge marginal vegetation. Is very finely covered with the marginal vegetation. Organic content will be more. Oxygen is very less in this type of lakes and the water is almost colored water. It's very common, we almost come across such type of water clogged areas, almost appears reddish or bluish like that. Colored water, yellow to brown. So and also the water is acidic. because of the organic acids and also because of incompletely decomposed substrate. That's why the water is acidic. Blue-green algae will be more here, and also other organisms are scarce because oxygen is very less. Okay, then we are going to see the lentic adaptations. What are the adaptations shown by the organisms living in this lentic ecosystem? Habitat selection should be there. Why? What is the need for selecting the habitat? Because all the parameters like the temperature, whatever the parameter, it shows some gradation when go deeper. So organism should select, need to select which is more comfortable to thrive for each type. So habitat selection is an important shown by all the organisms in lentic ecosystem. So we can categorize animals into newstones, then nektones, periphytones, benthones. In that way, we can categorize also organisms according to their habitat selection. Then for regarding respiration, they need some specific organs like rectal gills, then abdominal gills. As the name implies, the gills are present in those areas. Accessory respiratory organs like it is present in some fishes like anabas. Okay. Then dormancy is another property shown by lentic organisms. Dormancy, they are showing to surpass or surmount or to cope up with the summer season. Example for an organism showing dormancy is Protopterus. Encystment is also another such property. That means to overcome the unfavorable drastic environment, the organism develop a cyst and they are living inside that. Examples are protozoans, copypods, etc. Oxygen deficiency, because oxygen in summer season, summer stratification also we have learned epilimnion, thermocline and hypolimnion. In hypolimnion there is very feeble, less amount of oxygen. Epilimnion will be with more amount of oxygen, and so organism for availing more amount of oxygen, they make strips to the upper surface layers of the that's lentic ecosystem. So they cannot find enough oxygen in the hypolimnia. There is no sufficient oxygen. So they made frequent excursions for foraging and also get enough oxygen. That about with regarding to the oxygen availability, how the organism is showing some behavioral changes. This one. Then osmoregulation and excretion. With regard to that also, I already shown you that fish is here, its body is hypertonic, its environment is hypotonic. So more water enters into the body. That additional water, excess water is eliminated by forming dilute urine, and also from inside body they collect that excess water and stores inside the contracted vacuoles, and as it joins with the outside body and release that water out. In that way, it managed to eliminate the excess body water. Also, a part of osmoregulation. These are the different adaptations shown by lentic organisms. Then we are how we can classify aquatic organisms. Plankton, so all these things we have already learned. Plankton means they are organisms that moving, they didn't have any special locomotive structures, they move simply depending upon the direction of water current. Plankton, zooplanktons, phytoplanktons are present. Then newstones are organisms seen just above or just below the water surface. Hyponeustones and epioneustones are present. That also we have learned. Periphytones. Periphytones means organisms in attached with the rooted plants or anything that found in the bottom. Nectones are actively swimming organisms. Benthos means they are the organisms that are seen in the bottom of the aquatic system. Then marine ecosystem. So freshwater is over. Is a part of a long essay. The essay can be as like an essay about freshwater ecosystem and its different and its classification and adaptations. All these things still here can be asked as an essay. Then we are going to marine ecosystem is another essay. What extent? First, we need to realize the extent of marine ecosystem. Almost 70% of Earth's surface is covered with the marine ecosystem, and its depth is almost 4,000 meter, and more deeper areas are also common. Most deepest area is a trench in Western Pacific Ocean. It is 11,000 meter deep, and the greatest known depth is Mariana Trench. Mariana Trench is the deepest. The characteristics of marine ecosystem regarding the salinity first. We know that marine ecosystem, we differentiate it mainly because of its salinity itself, right? Um, if we take 1 liter water, its 35% is certainly of salt. So it is saline. The salinity is almost constant also, and predominant salt present in that marine system is sodium chloride. And trace amount of calcium chloride, potassium chloride, magnesium chloride also present. Regarding light, light is an important limiting factor in marine ecosystem. And based on the availability of light, that ecosystem can be divided into photic, dysphotic, and aphotic zone. Photic means the term itself indicates that enough light is there, light availability is there, and its extension is till 80 meter depth. Photosynthesis is present in that zone. And dysphotic zone means below 80 meter till 200 meter is dysphotic zone. And UV and violet light ray can reach to that area, to that depth. Aphotic zone means those area below the 200 meter. It's aphotic, there is no light. Then regarding the temperature, temperature almost remains constant. Annual variation also happens not more than 60 degrees Celsius. There is not much more variation more than 60 degrees Celsius annually. And deeper layers almost have a uniform temperature of 4 degrees Celsius. More deeper most layers of marine ecosystem almost have a common uniform temperature, that is 4 degrees Celsius. And also we know that at 4 degrees Celsius water have maximum density. That also we have already learned. Then currents. Water current is continuous in marine ecosystem, and that water current itself is created by two forces. By wind, we know that in sea, ocean, that waves are created by wind. And another force is by convection. Convection means it's a property shown by gas. Heated gas moves up and cool gases are moving down. That such type of movement of gas or air, that also create water current. Then next, dissolved gases. Dissolved gases means this marine ecosystem is a gigantic reservoir of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay. So then next is about the alkalinity. Okay, certainly as salt are more, so certainly the marine ecosystem is of alkaline in nature. Its alkalinity is in the is that of its value is around 8.2, and that alkalinity always remains constant. Pressure. Pressure, it increases as go deep. Okay. Then organization. How marine ecosystem is organized. Two realms. Realm means in other way we can understand it as two regions. Two regions are present in marine ecosystem. That is pelagic region and benthic region, or pelagic realm or benthic realm. Pelagic realm or region means is a free water zone. So water filled region. All that area we can call as pelagic. Benthic means the floor, bottom of the ocean is the benthic. And then water in the marine habitat. That water area we can call it as pelagic, and bottom is floor is called benthic. Then next, that water in the marine ecosystem can again be classified into three. That is littoral, neritic, and oceanic zone. Littoral means what? Littoral zone is a marginal. We know that in the case that we already learned in freshwater ecosystem also, littoral means is the marginal. So here also it's a marginal zone. As in the case of ocean, one difference exists. Marginal zone means there is high tide and low tide. വേലിയേറ്റം വേലിയിറക്കം. High tide and low tide is there. And this littoral zone is that zone where experiencing this high tide and low tide. That area of the marine environment is called littoral zone. Then neritic zone means what? Neritic zone means is that portion of water till 200 meter deep above the continental shelf. Continental shelf means that floor of the ocean. That area is called a neritic. Then oceanic zone means is a open ocean. Is a open ocean area. That is oceanic zone. Biota of oceans. It is richer than freshwater. Biota, life forms, it is rich than freshwater. Producers are, which are the type, here also the primary producers are phytoplanktons. They include diatoms, dinoflagellates, microscopic algae, etc. Then seaweeds are present, red algas are there. So 80 to 90 percentage of its photosynthetic activities performed by these phytoplanktons, these very tiny phytoplanktons that seen in the marine ecosystem. Consumers are heterotrophic macroconsumers are present, mainly are of zooplanktons. And also benthos, nektones are also present. These are the benthos mainly. See, benthos means attached with something. Nektones are actively swimming, all these organisms. Newstones we know, hyponeustone, epineustones are there. Then zooplanktons are two types, haloplanktons and meroplanktons. Haloplanktons means they are not true zooplanktons. These haloplanktons lead only a part of their life as zooplanktons. They are not, sorry, it's not like that. Haloplanktons are permanent planktons. They live their entire life as zooplanktons. And while in the case of meroplanktons, they are not truly zooplanktons. They are actually larvae of some organism. So, in its life cycle, only a half of the life cycle, they live the life of a zooplanktons. Such type of organisms are called, zooplanktons are called meroplanktons. Meroplanktons actually they are the larval forms of large fishes. Nektones we know actively swimming, jellyfish, cuttlefish, benthos also we know attached forms. Then decomposers are bacteria and fungi. Then pelagic realm. Pelagic means that water-filled area. That thing we need to think about. We need to think about that. Then it has two divisions mainly, Neritic and Oceanic zone. Littoral also there. Littoral means marginal. Then Neritic till 200 meter. And under that open water area is called Oceanic zone. Fauna are mainly of planktons and nectons. Then we are going to see the planktonic adaptations. Its body in the planktonic adaptations, its body is denser than the seawater, so there is chance to sink. So they should develop some adaptation to float. That is the regarding its body appearance. They should have some adaptations to float. Then what about their appearance? They are ribbon-like or needle-like. Some are needle-like, some are ribbon-like, some are having very transparent body. These are the points relating with appearance. Then specific gravity. Specific gravity is very low. Then what is specific gravity? Specific gravity means it is the density of anything when comparing with the standard density of some other thing, because we are comparing the density of anything with a non-density of some other thing. So that is specific gravity. It is very low. Then exoskeleton also there, but it is very light. Locomotor organs usually absent. If it is present, it should be long and branched. Then pneumatophores. Pneumatophores are present. Pneumatophore means the structures help to float. Physalia we already learned in your previous semester about the pneumatophore. Then foot is modified into some wing-like structures. Long spines and bristles also present in this phytoplanktons as an adaptation. Then the heavier ions that present in the body, they remove for buoyancy. And vertical migration. Planktons show another property, that is vertical migration. That is daytime they are found in the surface. Daytime they sink to the bottom, and during night time they are moving to the surface. There is a vertical migration of planktons. Then nectonic adaptation. Nectons itself, on hearing that term itself, what image we need to recollect in our memory? Very active swimmers. So they are good swimmers. Their body is streamlined body. Streamlined body, what we know. Their invertebrate swimmers also present. Example, crustaceans, sepia are invertebrate. Vertebrate swimmers are also there. Includes bony fishes, turtles, etc. So pelagic realm is over. Then we are moving to benthic realm. Benthic realm also we can divide it to two zones. So two zones means a littoral zone. Littoral zone means the floor of that littoral zone. That's a benthic realm. Then abyssal benthic zone means that beyond 200 meter, that beyond 200 meter depth there is area, and in that area there is floor is present. That that area is called abyssal benthic zone, means more deep. Abyssal, that word itself mean that heavily deep. So that benthic realm can be divided into littoral. Littoral means not much deep. Abyssal benthic zone means is a more deep area. Floor, both are relating with the floor. And based on the availability of light, it's moved, this heading move over to this point, second point of this one. Anyway, I will explain to you, I will tell you what is that point and this heading. Okay. Based on the availability of light, photic zone and aphotic zone is there. Photic means the region up until 200 meter, and beyond 200 meter is the floating zone. Then we are going to see the littoral adaptation. Littoral adaptations. Littoral adaptation. What's the nature of the littoral zone? Is very shallow. We know that, and it's a wave splash. It's a region always lit by waves, and it be rocky or sandy or muddy. So that about littoral. Then we are going to see about intertidal. Intertidal rocky zone means intertidal. Inter means between. Between what tides? Tides means high tide and low tide. It is that area between high tide and low tide. So when there is high tide, water rises to certain level. When there is low tide, water again sinks down. So between these two marks, there is an area. That area is called the intertidal rocky zone. Okay. You see any picture? Okay. When high tide is there, maybe that water will reach up to here. Low tide, water moves down. So that area between that high tide and the low tide. These rocky pools are there. Rocky pools means they are found in intertidal rocky zones, and its size ranges, varies. What is the peculiarity? The water that is filled in the rocky pools in the intertidal zones is frequently changed because changed the water that is filled with inside that rock pools found in the rocky intertidal zone get changed after each high tide. So the common animals found there are sea anemone, small fishes are also there, shrimps are also common. Then adaptations for the intertidal rocky shores. What adaptations need? Uh, for attachment, some adaptations are required. Which are the adaptations? Pedal disc. Pedal disc C. It is in coelentrates, sea anemones. Sea anemones also we have learned in our earlier semesters. So pedal disc is an adaptation for attachment to substrate. Then semen glands. Semen glands means Balanus and Lepus have the semen glands. With this semen glands, they produce certain substance. That substance helps that organism to adhere to the substrate. From washed away by the high tide water. Then ventral foot. Ventral foot also another structure. It is present in mollusk like chitin. Also helps for attachment. Then byssus thread. Byssus thread is another thread-like structure that's seen in again in rock oysters. Also helps for attachment. Then adaptations for sedentary life. For sedentary life, what are the adaptations? If it is sedentary, it's attached. Its mouth and anus should be present at free end of the body. Otherwise, excretion will not be feasible, possible. And if it is sedentary, there is no use of any locomotory organs. So they didn't possess any type of locomotive organs. But they should possess efficient sense organ. These are the adaptations. Then borrowing adaptations. What are the adaptations? They should have some hard parts for borrowing. They are called rock burrows. Example, lithophage, then lithodomus, pholas are examples. Pholas, PHOLAS. Then what are the adaptations to escape from waves? This whole thing regarding with the intertidal area. Okay. Adaptations to escape from waves. Flat body. Body should be flat to escape from waves. And also ventral suckers. It is present in some organisms for attachment. Scales. Scales are absent for avoiding washed away from by the waves of the water. Then, so tolerate the fluctuating temperature. Temperature fluctuation, the organism should be eurythermal. That means they can withstand the huge fluctuation in temperature. Then tolerance to salinity. Salinity also it should be adapted to varying salinity, because when high tide is there, that water is coming and filling the rocky pools, and during low tide there is not that much water, so the salinity there stands for the salinity to change. So the organism also need to cope up with that variation. So the organism should be uri-halide. Adaptation to escape from desiccation. Desiccation means during high tide, maybe the rocky pools will be filled with water. During low tide, it will maybe totally dried up. So for that condition, also they need to adjust. What adaptation they possess for adapting such conditions? And these are problem for sessile ones, those who are attached. Those they cannot move. Uh, Only for such group it become a problem, and desiccation is a problem. How they solve that problem? By reducing the surface area of the body. Um, for example, Patella vulgata, it's a shell. It reduces its shell circumference. Circumference means ചുറ്റളവ്. By reducing the shell circumference, it reduces the surface area. And then regeneration capacity. It is higher in such organisms, and so they chop their body parts by self, by themselves itself. And when it is in need, then they are capable to regenerate. It's another property. Then defense mechanism. For defense, they have spicules are there, stinging cells also there. Then mollustic shells also a defense mechanism from its predators. Then intertidal sandy shores. Till here we discuss about rocky substrates. Next we are moving to sandy shores. What is the problem exists there in sandy shores? There is a not stable substratum. Because as it is sandy, as waves passed off it, this chance to wash away the substrate because it is sandy. So the life forms commonly found there are seaweeds, algae and grasses. Burrowing forms also present there. Then we are going to see the adaptations to intertidal sandy shores. Which are the adaptations? First, for adaptations for burrowing. Burrowing, they should have some appendages. They all have appendages for burrowing. And foot also present. Foot is also another adaptation for burrowing animals, especially mollusk. They have ciliary mode of feeding. Ciliary mode of feeding means they are filtering. They are taking their food particles along with the water current, and those food particles present in the water they are taking in, and the rest of the water is eliminating. Then tuberculous adaptation. Tuberculous adaptation means they produce a tube by its own and living inside that tube, and the opening of the tube projects above, and they develop feeding water current, and that water current enters to the tube, and the food particle that is present in the water current is taken by the organism. And also they can retract inside. Retract means it can hide inside that tube for their protection also. That is tuberculous adaptation. Protective coloration also they show. There is a color resemblance with the sand. Feeding adaptation is they are ciliary feeder. Respiratory adaptation means they have inhalant and exhalant. There are siphons, some extensions they have for respiration. Antennae also there. as respiratory siphons. And anoxia is another problem. So they should be anaerobic for better survival. Next, salinity tolerance. Salinity tolerance. It should avoid salinity tolerance. So they are uri-haline. And also should be wide temperature tolerance. So they are almost uri-thermal. Then we are moving to abyssal or benthic zone or deep sea. So we covered the pelagic zone or littoral zone we covered. Then we are going to see the abyssal zone. Physical features of deep sea. What? It is deep and so it's a zone below 6,000 meter. Temperature. What about the temperature there? It is very cold between 1.9 degrees Celsius and 4 degrees Celsius. Very cold. Light. Light is totally absent. So it's dark. It's an incomplete ecosystem. Incomplete means totally producers are absent. So it is incomplete. Pressure is very high. This is another feature. Then water current totally absent. Scarcity of food is very high. Yeah, and oxygen and carbon dioxide content. Oxygen, both these are very less there. Then moving to see the deep sea animals. Deep sea animals, they are actually they are not the inhabitant of the deep sea portions. They are actually the visitors of there. Which are the benthic fauna? Mostly they are of protozoans, sponges are there, then tuberculous worms are there, crustaceans, giant isopods are there, some vertebrate fishes also there. Then we are going to see the abyssal adaptation, deep sea adaptation. Small size because the availability of food is very less, so there is no use of keeping a huge body size. So its size is very less. Exceptions also there. There are chimera and shark are also found in zones. There are exceptions. And the skeleton is fragile. Fragile means since there is no water current, there is no use of keeping a strong skeleton. So fragile skeleton. Air bladder also they are lacking. There is no use of air bladder because they no need to buoyant their body. Pressure. High pressure is there. For cope up with that, they should have some adaptations. They have pressure sense and also gas filled cavities are totally absent in their body. Carnivorous, they are all carnivorous because there is no vegetation in the deep sea portion, so they are all carnivore. And feeding adaptations, they have large teeth. We can see that large teeth, wide mouth and powerful jaws. So they can swallow a prey that is even larger than its body size. Okay. And bait means I'll show you a video. This, we can see a fish, anglerfish. With anglerfish, it has an adaptation, some structure, an expansion, and it's like a bait. Bait means ഇരപിടിക്കുക. നമ്മൾ ചൂണ്ടയിടുമ്പോൾ അതേപോലെ bait. And small fishes think that it is a bait and it come closer to this fish and try to swallow. At that moment, the anglerfish take the small fish into its mouth and make it its food. So we can see that in this video. The small fish is moving more closer and it can bait. Then eyesight. Lack totally, the eyes are almost absent or reduced. But some fishes have telescopic eyes because if a very feeble light is available, it should gather all those very feeble light. For that, telescopic eye is also present in some forms. Instead of the eyesight, they more develop their olfactory sensation. By sensing the smell, they detect things. The tactile sense organs are also present. Tactile. Um, Feelers are also present. Bioluminescence. This is the means of producing light.
Even in the dark zone, there is some light. Turn off the submersible headlights and you see a pyrotechnic display
Bioluminescence
outside.
produced by
These lights are created by animals.
organisms.
This is bioluminescence.
Anglerfish bait also
A deep-sea anglerfish flashes in the darkness. The light is generated by bacteria that live permanently inside the lure, which attracts prey to these murderous teeth.
Okay, that's enough.
There are all sorts.
That's enough. Bioluminescence also shown by the basal organisms. Then reproductive adaptations. Reproductive adaptations means they produce large number of eggs because they need to sustain their population. So they lay so many eggs at a time. And also anglerfish have one more adaptation because in the case of anglerfish, females are large and they always carry two or three males attached with its body because they need to avoid the risk of finding a mate during the type of reproduction. So that's adaptation shown by anglerfish. They always carry two or three males attached to its body. So that also we can.
She releases chemicals into the water, which the males scent with a special white organ in front of their eyes. Having found a partner, the male bites at her belly with specially designed teeth.
Has some special type of teeth so that the male attaches to
He
it.
needs to get permanently attached.
That way, it avoids the risk of finding a mate in this dark
Within a matter of weeks,
water.
the male is completely fused to the female, and there he will stay for the rest of his life. Her blood circulating in his body provides him with all the sustenance he needs. In return, she gets a continuous, reliable supply of sperm.
That is the adaptation. That male spend his whole life attached with the body of a female and takes nourishment from the female's body, and the female is getting continuous supply of sperm. And long appendages and spine stacks also there. They help as a support and for perception, for sensing also. These structures helps. Okay, then estuaries. We are moving to next section, that is estuaries. Estuary means is that part where a river meets with the sea. River meets with that meeting point is estuary. What are its features? It's very important regarding the estuary also. Always questions are coming for former question, so it's very important. Features of estuary. These are the features. Its salinity is always fluctuates. Temperature also fluctuate greatly in estuary. And wave action and water current are very less here. So as a result, sediment content is more. So substrates are of muddy. And because of the presence of more substrate, water is almost turbid. The oxygen content also vary. Sometimes there is more oxygen. Sometimes the oxygen content is very less. So varying oxygen level is another feature of this estuaries. And why this oxygen level is variable? Because the solubility of oxygen decreases with the increase in temperature and salinity. So this temperature and salinity is highly variable in the estuary. In connection with that, the oxygen content also vary. Then productivity in the estuary. It is the most productive as a highly nutrient and it is rich with the seaweeds, marsh grasses, and also sediments are more detritus. It is eating animals are very great in number there, and also it acts as the breeding ground of many fishes. So it is very productive. Estuaries are very productive. With this we finish this chapter and today's section. Thank you.